on the radio show, actually, the Hot Rod, Rowdy Roddy Piper, will be joining us in just a little while here on the Pro Wrestling Report. So as Mike today would say, call and text your friends and let them know that Rowdy Roddy Piper, the Hot Rod, the WWE Hall of Famer, will be a part of the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN coming up in just a little while. We are here live with David the Hero, the Kaz, and the man they call Meathead. Again, it is Wednesday. What is today's date? April 6th, 7th? April 7th, 2010. And as I said, a lot to talk about in the professional wrestling world. And if you want to join us on the phones, you can do so by calling 1-800-990-3776 or locally here at 276-3776. And gentlemen, before we get to Rowdy Roddy Piper, we're going to launch this episode by talking about the state of TNA Wrestling.
The state of it?
Well,
is
TNA made a
Delaware.
It's Florida and Tennessee. TNA made an announcement today that they were changing the time slot of Impact. Impact now to go from the 7 o'clock Central to 9 o'clock Central hour, 8 to 10 Eastern, so that they can take advantage of the unopposed first hour against WWE RAW. They did it on January 4th. They did it this past Monday. They saw increases in their ratings on both those times, obviously
huge
so,
increases,
because they are not opposed by the juggernaut that is WWE. But a step back for TNA for sure, a step back that they probably could have avoided had they just done this originally.
Well, it's going to be really interesting because, you know, when Hogan and Bischoff came out and they said the war is on, does this mean the war is now off?
No, the problem was that they used the word war. You're exactly right. And when I remember doing the primetime episode directly after January 4th, which aired, I believe it was that Friday, it was Damien and myself, and I had said, why are we mentioning war? And we said, well, you know, TNA is mentioning war. Hogan and Bischoff are mentioning war. So the problem is that they tried to start a war and realized they were going to war with sticks, or as my Polish brethren have gone to war with, horseback.
I was watching a very interesting show on, I believe, the History Channel yesterday, how the states were shaped, or why the states are shaped this way or whatever, and they were talking about all these various wars throughout the country. No, that was after that.
Oh.
Talking about all these wars and whatnot, and said that as lopsided as they were, a lot of these wars were just a few battles long. So, again, it is a war because they're going head-to-head, and it's a battle every week.
Damien,
it's a war.
It is not.
It is a war.
Stop.
As lopsided as it may be, it is a war. The battles are happening. Somebody's winning. Somebody's losing.
You know
in
why,
each of those battles.
You know why it's not a war? It's because the opponent isn't acknowledging anything.
It's like shooing flies. That's what it is.
WWE didn't acknowledge WCW when they first launched. Took them till they were getting their tail handed to them weekly for them to do the billionaire
you think that's
stuff.
going to happen?
I didn't say that.
You think Orlando Jordan is going to make that
happen?
We'll
get to that later. By definition, it's a war. And I'm not even playing the definition game. It's a war. There are battles in a war, and each week's a battle. So even if somebody's getting clobbered, it's a war. Now, you all say it's not a war. Is it not a war because it is not the same as WCW versus WWE, and missing the fact that a war is a war, of course.
Are you calling it a war because they're on the same night?
They're battling each other for ratings, thus making it a war.
I don't know if Raw is battling anybody for ratings.
Raw took a substantial step back in ratings this week.
Because it was the week after WrestleMania.
No, they both took a hit because it was NCAA basketball.
Impact got better.
Impact did rise substantially
from
over prior week.
to a 0.9.
Yeah.
Well,
WWE Raw may have been more impacted by the NCAA because obviously when the game was finishing, Raw was still on, I believe, or Raw was getting ready to go off the air. So they probably had more of an impact than on TNA did.
Well, the NCAA game didn't start till at least Central Time.
Was it about 8:10?
About 10 after, quarter after 8. So TNA had about an hour from Central Time now, from 7 to 8, to gain that wrestling audience, and they stayed with it for a while. I'd like to see the breakdown of one.
Oh, I saw the breakdown, and it's ridiculous what the highest rated segment was.
LVE.
The last quarter of the show.
Now, that was only a .97, but it was for the overrun. They went from, I believe, a .7 to almost a 1.0 for Lacey standing in the ring in her lingerie.
Yeah.
I think it was really because people thought Daphne was going to strip.
I was excited. I wanted it. I was hoping she would strip that makeup off.
She was the best
choice. She's a beautiful woman without all that goofy makeup on.
She was actually, the makeup is what most people like, I think.
Most people like, but I'm telling you, she's a beautiful woman without all that makeup on. Go back to the governor.
Sarah Palin.
The reason that obviously we should talk about the state of TNA is a lot has happened. It's been a long time since they went head-to-head. Actually, it's been about a month now, just about exactly. And they've done some things that have helped the brand, and they've done some things that have harmed the brand. So we're going to go around the room and also solicit some phone calls from our audience out there to talk about what TNA has done right and what they have done wrong. And the first huge misstep, I think, was not only the decision to go directly head-to-head with Raw, but to not take advantage of that early hour, that extra hour of unopposed time where they can grab an audience and potentially hold on to them. Now, this is a black eye for TNA because they had to take a step back.
A big step back. You don't go from talking about a big war to all of a sudden, we're going to start an hour early. And a lot of the TNA talent wanted to start an hour early to begin with.
Why didn't they?
Because too many egos were involved.
Way too many chefs in the kitchen.
You know what? I'll be honest. I've always been a Hulk Hogan fan. I mean, most wrestling fans were Hulk Hogan fans. Hogan, of course. And it's just a shame because you know what? They had potential to do something big. They should have waited. They should have started at the time they're at now. And eventually build to that. But right now, a lot of fans are thinking, "Wow, is this the first nail in the coffin for TNA?"
Exactly. And they've also added, by the way, the Thursday replay and their old time slot. And I think it's important to note that the replacement for TNA on Thursdays has been scoring less than half a rating, less than a 0.5 rating each and every week. So Spike TV, TNA Wrestling, still one of their highest rated programs, even opposing Raw on Monday nights, which, again, is the barometer of success for Spike. Now, would they want to see more and higher ratings? Absolutely they would. But they still have a strongly rated program in TNA Wrestling.
The fans are going to make the difference here. I think TNA will come out and say, we're doing this because, marketing-wise, it helps us out. The advertisers will be happy. The fans are going to come out and say, well, obviously this is a big mistake. That they screwed up in the beginning. I think they did. They should have gone right away to 7 to 9 o'clock Central Time here. But now let's just let it sit. Let it sit and then build your product again a little bit. You grabbed an audience, you captured that audience, especially with the Hogans of the world. Like, hey, Hulk Hogan, let's watch. So just play it cool. Be yourself. Play it cool. Take your time, and take advantage of this 1 hour that you got now. And there's no need to, make too much of a big deal about it.
Mm-hmm.
And just the ratings are where they are. We're coming up on the summer pretty soon where ratings kind of drop anyway.
Right.
People are doing other things. So just promise your advertisers some number. You get it. Be profitable and build your product.
Yeah, and the problem was, again, and I think it's unanimous in the room here that we thought they should have went in that unopposed hour, 7 o'clock here Central Time, 8 o'clock Eastern, that they should have went unopposed. And, it's funny that a lot of the talent, Damien, you say that they wanted to be in that unopposed hour. I wouldn't doubt that a lot of the talent wanted to be on camera in that unopposed hour, knowing that, there's only wrestling eyes watching them versus wrestling eyes switching back and forth.
They're still not using their talent the right way.
Oh, yeah.
You think they are?
No, not at all.
Well,
again, you and I apparently confuse each other. I agree with you 100%.
That's where I'm confused. That never happened.
I'll tell you what they need to do is get some spray cans that work a little bit better.
Oh.
That segment, we'll talk about it later. That was awful. Like,
no.
He's writing something.
What's awful is Orlando Jordan. That's awful.
Dave, you got that spot divered and saved on the hard drive.
Not at all. You know what? The best thing TNA really is doing, though, is having the show on Monday Night Live and the replay on Thursday. Because they're eventually going to get those fans that are casually flipping through, and they're going to eventually, get more that way. So I will give
on
credit.
Thursdays, you mean?
Yeah, on Thursdays.
But also the ones that are on Thursdays are going to find out, you know what, this show is airing live on Mondays. Why am I waiting for Thursday to come around? I should start watching it on Monday.
Well, yeah, eventually.
Yeah.
That right there is the plan. But, for as goofy as it sounds, I think it's actually the smartest thing TNA has done so far.
And it's also for people that don't want to have to make the choice right now between Monday Night Raw or TNA Impact on Monday. They have, an option to watch both programs.
I don't think most fans have the patience to wait 3 days to watch it on Thursday, though. I think they're still going to do the flipping back and forth. It's natural. The other program's on, whether you're flipping from Raw or from TNA to the other. I don't think people are going to wait till Thursday, so much like they did when they did this the first week, I believe, where they did the same rating they did on Monday on Thursday. combined rating, which is what a lot of the networks use right now, especially MTV, Discovery, whatnot. They re-air shows all the time so that they can bump up the combined viewing audience for that show and then push that number. So
that's what VH1 does.
Absolutely.
Frank the Entertainer.
He's right here.
That's cool.
He is right there.
The one thing you will see them try and take advantage of, which WCW did back in the day, was that 8 o'clock hour Central here. They'll have something kind of bigger going on, so you don't want to switch. Hey, I don't want to switch yet because Hogan is in a match or whatever the situation is. I think you'll see that at first just to, do the, as I call the temperature check, to see if people are going to switch.
That's Patton, by the way. That is Frank Cosentino's line.
But can TNA pull it off? We'll talk more about this when we come back, including our guest, Rowdy Roddy Piper, coming up later here on the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com. Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com. We're live on Wednesday, special day, special time, April 7th, 2010. Damian Nelson sitting alongside the man they call Meathead and the Kaz and David the Hito.
You know what? We forgot about some other big TNA hot news.
What's that?
We forgot to congratulate.
That's part of hot news.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, then we'll wait for hot news.
I don't know why you're always trying to scoop something.
Oh, it's not, well.
He's segment jumping.
I do. I jump around quite a bit.
Yeah.
Jump up,
Before we take that
down.
time out, we're going to be entering the phone zone in just a little while here. And, again, the number is 800-990-ESPN or 276-ESPN. But before we took that time out, we were talking about, and Frank mentioned, that TNA needs to make sure they hold that audience when Raw comes on the air. The question is, can they do it?
It depends who they use.
That's the question. I don't mean they have the talent to do it, but can they execute it? Are they going to do something smartly enough to engage the viewers? They did so this week, I thought, very well. The Angle and Anderson ladder match was going on during the transition.
For a bump, huh?
Angle
nasty
took a pretty hefty one. So they did it well this week, and if they put good wrestling, maybe it's an X Division match or just some wild spot fest or something, I think they will be able to do it. But the question is, will they do it, or will the egos prevail, and might it be something that people won't necessarily care about in that spot instead?
Do you think that even if they put on the best match, or if they put on a Hogan, Bischoff, Hall, Nash, Layden, segment at 7:55 Central, right as they're going into the 8 o'clock hour where Raw will start, don't you think that the Raw wrestling fan may still jump?
You know what? I don't think they'll use Hogan, Hall, Nash, and X-Pac. It'll be RVD and Jeff Hardy.
Yeah. And, I thought that was a pretty decent move to pair those two up together.
You think so?
I think so. I think that, you got Jeff Hardy, who's TNA's Rey Mysterio, the one that relates to the kids a lot.
Right.
And then RVD is one that can relate to the 20-something wrestling fan that still, remembers RVD from ECW, remembers some from, WWE being the WWE champion. A lot of acronyms in there, and I'm starting to mumble over my words. But I think they made a good move putting those two together.
You know what's funny is they were going to name them High Energy, and they realized that,
that had been used already?
Yeah, it's been used already.
Yeah.
TNA has released some talents as well, and I think that this had more of an impact on
pun intended,
the perception of their product than they may have thought. The first name maybe not as much as the second. The first name being Consequences Creed, who I think had a lot of potential. He was a young kid. He was certainly he had a good story behind him, and released, gone. Now, here's the challenge. Are they releasing these people to free up money to pay some of these people that may not be as valuable down the road? And that's a question that I can't answer. But in addition to Consequences Creed, they also released Christopher Daniels from his contract, who showed up on the Ring of Honor Big Bang online pay-per-view show this past Saturday night. You got one person who was a core of TNA for a long time. It's arguable as to what they could have done with them. And then you've got another young star who, quite frankly, could probably be utilized in the same role, obviously not the same gimmick, but in the same role as Jay Lethal is so prominently, or was so prominently last week, and will be next week.
Well, I think part of the reason is, look at how big that roster is. that they have over there.
Their one TV show roster?
That's it.
Yeah. It's approaching 60 or 70 names.
So to get those guys some face time, that's difficult. And you also want, on a house show, when they bring up some new talent, well, who's this? I've never seen him on TV before. Well, then you hope to get that person on TV the following week or in some type of storyline in the future. But think about it. That 2-hour time frame, take out the commercials and take as far as when the band, how long it takes them to get down to the ring and all that. They don't have much time to get those wrestlers. No, and they really don't have another show to showcase those guys.
Well, they do have Explosion, but not a lot of people have access to Explosion. The thing is, though, you would think that should help their house business, their house show business. You have all these names, some being used for TV. That means they have this plethora of talent that you can put on the house show circuit that you should know their names, and they don't do it.
Well, here's why. Because a lot of these contracts are written where they're guaranteed X number of dates.
Right. X number of TV dates.
Well, no, just dates as a whole.
Really?
It can be pay-per-view, TV, house shows, or whatnot. And when they go over those amount of dates, well, then there's a fee increase.
Who's writing these contracts?
I don't know. It sounds like the same people that wrote the WCW one.
Exactly. It sounds exactly like that.
Jeff Jarrett said in a radio interview recently that is something they're going to address. By the end of the year, you're going to see the same stars on TV at the house shows. We went to the TNA house show in Racine a couple of months back in October, and that was the feedback that we had. There was nobody there who meant anything because they weren't on the same TV that you're watching. And why do people go to these shows? To see the stars that they see on TV. Now, granted, there were some stars there. I think Steiner was there, AJ Styles was there, Matt Morgan was there.
Billy Gunn.
Yeah, but when's the last time you had seen him on TV up until that point?
The main event was AJ Styles versus Scott Steiner. Samoa Joe unable to wrestle.
If you want to see the guys you see on TV, you got to go to the GLCW shows next weekend.
Ooh.
Shameless plug.
X-Pac.
It's okay.
Tracy Brooks.
Yeah.
Rodney the Piper.
Rodney the Piper? Santino?
I stole that from Frank. Sorry, Frank.
Dave Harrow, your thoughts on the release of Creed and Daniels?
I can understand Creed because they really weren't using him, but Christopher Daniels is like a heart and soul guy of TNA.
Mm-hmm.
He was one of the first guys they brought in. He worked harder than just about anybody else on that roster. And the strange thing is he's one of AJ Styles' best friends.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, did they even ask AJ to even go to him and say, hey, here's what we're thinking? I mean, a move like that can cause a lot of dissension in the locker room. Right?
A lot of ripple effect.
And right now, there is a little bit of lack of trust with the current company. Talking about Hogan and Bischoff as to the direction they're going in, because a lot of the people have no idea which way they're going with TNA.
Yeah.
If they don't get things fixed, I think after Bound for Glory, there may be a new regime in charge of TNA. So you're saying
it's a Nitro Reborn?
And Bound for Glory is about
be.
What? It's
October. All their eggs are in this one basket, though. They have no way out. They have no other course to take. What are they going to do?
Well,
I mean, we'll speculate on it after we take this time out, but if you really want to hear how, as David Hero said, Daniels was TNA to the core, take a look at the interviews we've done with him. There are 2 of them available in the interview section of PWRshow.com, and you'll see him talk passionately about his feelings for TNA and why he wanted to be a part of TNA Wrestling.
And a guy that just main evented one of their pay-per-views a few months ago.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Wait, did he main event or did he headline the pay-per-view?
Well, he was a headlining main event.
We're going to take a time out, and when we come back, our guest, Rowdy Roddy Piper. This is the award-winning Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com.
This is Packers wide receiver Greg Jennings, and you're listening to 540 ESPN.
Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com. Also streaming live at PWRshow.com, where the Champmosphere is got a lot of conversation going on about OJ, Orlando Jordan.
I can't believe it.
What?
Meathead hung up on him.
We are attempting to. We're going to get Piper back on.
That's not fair, Dave.
It's not fair.
Well, I'm not going to blame you, Fish.
Wait,
all right, Dave, then blame whoever you want. I'm just going to keep playing the Nasty Boys theme for Dave.
Rowdy Roddy Piper actually on a movie set right now. Needs a few more minutes, so he's going to be giving us a call back. In the meantime, let's continue talking about TNA Wrestling and the state of that organization and as you heard the music play, the Nasty Boys released from TNA Wrestling. And as we said, or as you said, Dave, all along, they were never going to be there long in the first place. However, apparently there was a little bit of a situation that led to the release of the Nasty Boys. Wow. Brian Knobs, not necessarily so PC or behaved in front of the Spike TV
Brian
executives.
Knobs. I mean, when you hire the Nasty Boys, that's what you expect.
Kind of knew what you're going to get when you brought them on.
Did they show they're nasty?
You know, they were brought on to help them get additional bookings in the future.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it was. It was Hogan taking care of his buddy. That's what TNA is doing right now. Everyone's taking care of their pals.
The one thing I noticed from a production value of TNA, and I know that they're still in there, it's a live show once in a while, but when a commentator like TNA or whatever is going to break, you can't be talking when you're going to break. It just doesn't. There's no flow. It's like we'll be back in a minute. Or don't go anywhere. Say something. You can't. It seems like their conversation is still going on, and then all of a sudden the commercial comes up.
Frank, there was so many times during this live broadcast on Monday. For example, in the opening segment, whatever goof in the truck was in charge threw to an empty ring in the middle of the segment,
right?
Which was canned from before.
No. That's their safe shot.
No,
remember when, was it Tara that popped out? You always have a safe shot in TV, and especially in wrestling, a shot you pull to, so you really can't see anything.
Shouldn't they go to a live crowd shot?
Yeah, it's very easy to push the wrong button on a switcher or whatever. It's
like when you hung up on Piper.
I didn't hang up on Piper.
I will not hang up on Piper. You will never hear me knock TNA on production errors because WWE does them too. They don't do them as frequently or as blaringly as TNA may do them, but
they do them. I'm just telling you how
very
hard
difficult.
But that's not a production error. When you're going to commercial, someone's telling you
Correct.
in your ear, "We're going to commercial."
You would assume they are.
Well, they should. You're
they
alive
should
on
be,
TV.
right?
So if there's a mistake, that I can live with. But this is Mike Tenay. He's done TV before for many years.
Mm-hmm.
Just go to the production booth. Hey, just let me get into commercial here. Don't go right to that. That's
It's been
TV
done.
101.
It's been done a lot before.
Frank's thought about this.
It's been done a lot before, but I would say deliberately. And in these cases, it was not deliberate.
No.
Meaning, it's so hot, the action's so intense, we got to take a time out. We don't have time to talk about that, so they're talking through it.
Yeah, they get
they're
all
talking
flustered.
through it and going to break. I agree. That was a bit of a snafu this past Monday night. So those releases, the Nasties, will anyone miss them? Does anyone miss them?
Well, we're talking about them.
We are just reporting a little bit of news as we talk about the state of TNA.
We have spent more time on the Nasty Boys than Consequences Creed being released.
We had to take a break. I had Fish telling me in my ear that we had to take a break.
Boy, Fish is getting tons of heat tonight.
No, nobody's going to miss them. They were happy to see them for that period of time.
Who was happy to see them?
There's some. They've
oh,
got
come
fans.
on. You know
there
what?
were some.
You know what? It was fun to see him on for a little while.
Once?
Yeah, because, it was expected. And it's like, okay, yeah, there it is.
No, you are the only one who expected it. We were in denial.
See?
Until it actually happened.
I was definitely in denial. And then I saw him trying to sneak in the door on January 4th and said, there it is, it's over.
They're not going to miss them. I'll tell you one person I don't want to miss, or I don't want to see anymore, is Bubba the Love Sponge. Enough of him.
Oh, and he'll be back.
That's just me.
He'll be back.
Not
that I want
No,
him
it's
there.
not just you.
You know what? A lot of our UK fans do not like Bubba the Love Sponge.
They don't even know who he is, though.
Yeah.
And
Are they hot?
I've known Bubba. I've done some business with him in the past.
Sure.
He's a different person now. He really believes in the Bubba the Love Sponge character. And I don't know if it's being amplified because he's on TV.
Are you talking about Bubba from back here in the Milwaukee days?
Yeah.
Or? Okay.
Mm-hmm. In the Milwaukee days.
Bubba's a joke. I'll just say, Bubba the Love Sponge sucks.
Wow.
He's not a wrestler.
You
so I
can't
can say that. He's not a wrestler.
But he's a wrestling
you know what,
performer.
He wants to wrestle.
Well, I'm not even going to discuss that.
Brother.
Not even going to discuss that. Here's the thing about Bubba, and we'll put that to rest. Bubba is there for Bubba only. There are some benefits TNA is getting to it, such as Howard Stern airing a lot of clips on Tuesday of Bubba's appearance on Impact on Monday. That's a benefit. That's certainly going to do good for the product. But Bubba, he's there for himself
because of the Hulkster.
And how many people, though, and that's the problem, I think, with this company right now, TNA, how many people are there for themselves and not the company? But that's the problem.
Great point, because I know well, you may know more than I would. There are some wrestlers back there that cringe when they see Bubba walking around, taking away time. Like, I could be in that ring at that moment, and I got to watch this guy just eat up my time.
The same can be said about Lacey Von Erich.
Well,
and the girls,
she's a ratings draw.
That's a ratings draw.
Well, I understand that, but it is, and I'm not defending Bubba at all. But let's face it, when Hogan and Bischoff came in, they surrounded themselves with people they could trust,
which happens in any company when new management comes in.
So they bring, they bring in Bubba, who's friends with Howard Stern, who can give them more exposure. They bring in the Nasty Boys, who are going to watch Hogan's back. Hogan brought in half of his Hulkamania Australia roster. Yeah. Brings in Ric Flair, brings in Ken Anderson, brings in Orlando Jordan. There's more coming.
I don't think there's more coming. I think there's more going. Sean Morley's gone. The Nasties are gone.
Who else out there right now that you could see being in that stable that Hogan will trust?
You mean that backstage clique, if you will?
Yeah. And don't worry, I'll bring you in you. Who is that?
I can see Rikishi coming in.
When you're in that role, though, and I think this may be a challenge for Hogan, less so than Bischoff, because I think Bischoff, I thought anyways, had learned from his errors of the past. You can't try to satisfy everybody, and it seems as if Hogan may be doing that to a degree.
No, he's rewarding all of his pals. That's what he's doing.
Don't worry, I'll get you on. You brought up that there could be a match with Bubba and Hulk. I bet you there may be something in writing. Hey, don't worry, we'll get this in sometime. Don't worry.
Hogan said it on Bubba today, apparently. Hogan was on the Bubba show and said something about a match. Could have been a work, but unfortunately, once I heard about it, I said, you know what? I don't doubt that.
I mean, we've already had, Man-Cow wrestling, Jimmy Hart. This will just be even worse.
But that was really like a pre-pay-per-view match.
Right.
This
they would build up as something special.
In Chicago, by the way, was where they did that.
Well, they did that match here, too.
They did the Mayhem at the time?
Yeah, they did that at Mayhem here as well. And Jimmy Hart even went out and said, I'll wrestle all your local morning DJs.
Orlando Jordan.
No.
Here's the thing. Controversy creates cash. That's the book Eric Bischoff wrote. And clearly they're taking a controversial angle with the presentation over the last 2 weeks of Orlando Jordan.
But here's where it's wrong. It's going to tune people off. People aren't going to want to watch it.
You don't think there's a curiosity factor?
Okay.
If people don't know, casual fans tuning in, what's this guy doing? Is he? Is he not? What's going on here?
Wrestling fans get teased that they like watching guys roll around in tights. Now they're going to say not only are they wrestling around in tights, but they're spraying white milky substance all over themselves.
And look what happened just over this weekend, too. I mean, there's a lot of bad publicity with the wrestler that passed away.
I have nothing to do with each other.
I don't think there's any bad publicity about Canyon.
I think they can tie it in together. And I'm not talking about me. I'm not talking about wrestling fans. I'm talking about just general media can tie those two in together.
I think that's two different things, in my opinion. But
go ahead, Brian.
Well, that a wrestler passing away is, that's real life.
But the problem was that he wasn't a wrestler passing away. He was as he billed himself, the first openly homosexual wrestler.
But that has nothing to do with it. He committed suicide battling depression.
I understand that.
You know what? I was trying to compare. I was trying to think back of the whole, Attitude Era and earlier, and I was thinking of Goldust. Now, Goldust was different than Orlando Jordan because he had Marlena, and he wasn't as...
It was ambiguous.
Yeah.
But it wasn't as blatant.
Like was Gary ambiguous?
This is pushing an envelope to an area where you're like, do I really want to watch this now?
But here's the thing: we all know, and a lot of fans know.
That's the thing.
But we all know, and a lot of fans know what's going on with him. If you don't know, is it as bothersome? I don't think we can answer that, but I would venture to say it's not.
Yeah, it would be.
the be-all end-all this Monday was the cream.
Thank
you. Is the cream on the chest. That was enough.
I tell you what, when I saw that this past Monday on Impact, I said...
You rewound it?
I said, wow. I mean...
There was no reason for it.
I looked away for a minute, looked back, and he's standing there covered, and I'm like, really? Really? What's the point? What's the end game?
Who is the idiot that writes that?
Well, everybody's going to blame Vince Russo, even though he probably had nothing to do with it.
I doubt that's Vince Russo.
Is it a rib on OJ?
No.
TV time can't be a rib.
He can't go back and say, whoa, I'm not going to do this spot.
But they haven't done anything yet. That's the thing.
They let Christopher Daniels go.
Right.
And keep that.
Right. But they haven't done anything. The characters.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. We talked about it on Primetime last week, David. TNA's not been introducing characters. Like it or not, agree with it or not, are they not introducing a character in Orlando Jordan?
They are, but they're taking it to an area that
everybody in this room is scared to say anything good about this. And I'm not saying there is anything good to say.
What good is there?
I'm not saying there is, but are they not at least attempting to, whether it's failed or not, to introduce a character?
If it's funny, then we can
funny,
say,
haha.
Yeah, then it's like that's the funniest thing. Can you believe what we just saw? That's hilarious.
That's cover your kids' eyes and change the channel is what it is.
Absolutely.
Well, that's the thing. You've got a young child, Frank. You as well. The question that you could ask when something like that is seen on TV is, what's that mean? What's that, Daddy? Why is he covered? And to have to explain that as a parent can't be easy. Because how do you explain it?
But who wants to sit and watch it?
You didn't have it bloop, bloop. Just that quick. It was there and gone.
Yeah. But now you know, okay, hey, the next time this
it was like a
the next time this guy is on TV, I'm changing the dude.
That's
put
a
that
fast
away.
forward.
It's like I'm changing the channel before he even says the word. The word comes out of his mouth.
I think what they're doing is trying too hard to get people to talk about it.
But they are,
and it's working.
You know what's a shame? It's not wasted 10 minutes of our show.
It has.
It really has.
People want to hear our perspectives on that particular angle.
I have nothing against Orlando Jordan. I don't care who he wants to date, who he wants to be with.
Ric Flair does.
But Ric Flair does. But
not wants to date him or be with him.
No, But I just think that what they're doing with him as a character is not
productive.
Well,
it's
no,
not productive.
I don't think it's good for anybody.
You know what? If they want to do it on a pay-per-view, that's one thing, but not on primetime television.
Not on live primetime television.
Either way, live or taped, there's no reason to have that on there.
We'll see what happens with OG over the next few weeks. And now let's talk about the chair shot that made a man. The chair shot that was taken by Rob Terry this past Monday night from Homicide. Brutal, vicious, not sold, hard way bleeding. Did that chair shot, as in my opinion, make Rob Terry?
No. Chair shots don't mean anything anymore in wrestling.
That one did.
That was
real.
a brutal chair shot, but I don't think it's going to make him because it was almost an accident. He hit him with the end of the chair.
Well, yeah, but it was still a brutal chair shot.
It was brutal, but, I mean, for those ECW fans, you've seen that 4 million times over.
I gotta call foul. That was different from chair shots we've seen in recent history.
Yeah.
Very different.
It was one of the more brutal chair shots I've seen.
And for him to stand there
and
not sell it and then bleed
I
hard
don't
way.
think he understood what happened.
That's a different land.
He thought a light fell or something.
Yeah.
I thought it made him. I think in the fans' minds, this is like, this guy is a freak. This guy
but
is
he has no
a monster.
wrestling talent.
But that
you know what, though?
doesn't matter.
No,
you look at the
matter.
Ultimate Warrior,
right.
same kind of guy.
What made him?
That's a different time and a different era.
But every era has one of those guys.
What made the Ultimate Warrior? Was it not in, obviously he was a good talent, but in '89 at the Royal Rumble, I believe it was, when I believe it was John Tenta, Earthquake, when he got called from the stands, came down, and they had that strength contest, and then he got beat up, and then the Ultimate Warrior beat up every WWE official in the ring. In the company, it seemed like at the time. To me, that made him this freak, this monster. It's like, wow, this guy's cool, because you didn't see stuff like that at the time. While we do see chair shots, we don't see a man stand in the middle of the ring and take a full-on chair shot, percussing through the entire building, and then still walk away from it. That's the aspect that I think it made Rob Terry.
No, I think like TNA trying to push Orlando Jordan, I think you're trying to push Rob Terry way too hard.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to take him to another level. It was a wicked shot.
Wicked. Let's play it in town, you know. It's a play.
Oh, yeah.
I saw the signs on the building on the way over, looking for a
parking
spot.
I don't think Auntie M is going to be doing any chair shots anytime soon here
Auntie
on
M.
Well, you know what?
Wicked. I don't know what the heck it is.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to go to our guest. Joining us live on the phone right now on line 2, it is Hot Rod, Rowdy Roddy Piper. Piper, thank you
guys.
very
You
much.
gotta love them bagpipes, man.
I pop for it every time.
Look out, baby. Here I come. How are you guys doing? How you doing, man?
We're doing tremendous. Thank you very much for joining us on 540 ESPN here in Milwaukee. Roddy Piper, a lot going on. I understand we have you for a few minutes. Let's get a couple things in. Firstly, the last time we saw you was at WrestleMania weekend inducting Wendy Richter into the WWE Hall of Fame. What was that experience like?
I'm the only one that was around when Wendy Richter was performing. Her and Cyndi Lauper. My claim to fame at that time was I accidentally kicked Cyndi Lauper when she was like the female vocalist of the year.
Was that the year? Cyndi Lauper. I thought you were talking about when Wendy Richter sang the national anthem at WrestleMania. She sings like a bird, a vulture. It was brutal. And when Cyndi Lauper, when she's getting her award, she grabs her award, and the last thing she says is, "Roddy Piper, you're going to get yours." The next year was hell for me. People would come up next in their cars and put on "Girls Just Want to Have Fun." I would get into a restaurant. I would fight my way out over lemon pie. It was unbelievable that time. So Vince McMahon decides to pick me to put Wendy Richter in, and the first thing that Wendy Richter says is, "Piper's got the best mouth in the business," and my wife's there. My wife goes, "What does she mean by the best mouth in the business?" I don't know. Holy cow! There was that one time in Cleveland.
You're great. Milwaukee was like back in the day. That was Crusher country.
Oh, indeed. You spent a lot of time here as well, down at the Mecca Arena.
Oh, yeah, it's a great town, man. Oh, man. They're going to have Roddy Piper Day around there coming up soon. I'm going, good Lord.
April 16th, I believe. Roddy Piper Day.
What should I do on Roddy Piper Day? Any idea?
Be Roddy Piper. Just don't be Roddy Piper with Ric Flair Roddy Piper.
Oh, woo. I got more trouble with Ric Flair. He's such a jerk. Here's a Ric Flair story. This is a true story, unfortunately. Every time we get on airplanes, and I don't know what the heck was wrong with Rick. He'd go, "Pipes, what do you think?" I don't care, Rick. Rick would get up. He always had an Armani suit on. When we got in the air in the airplane, he'd get up, he'd go to the bathroom, he'd take off his Armani suit, he'd put on his Nature Boy robe, naked as a jaybird, and then serve drinks. Free drinks to everybody on the airplane. The airplane would go down an emergency landing. They'd arrest me. Every time. Now he's in trouble for it now because I wasn't there. I keep getting the heat for a cause of so much trouble. I was just trying to save Rick. I don't know if you've seen him naked, but it's not a pretty sight.
No.
But apparently everybody else has.
Who do you want to? I love Ric Flair, though. I love Ric Flair. He's
So, Roddy, you're out in California filming a Pizza Man with Diamond Dallas Page and Freddie Munoz.
How did you know that, man?
It was on TMZ.
I'm with Diamond Dallas Page. He keeps doing the diamond cutter. One more picture with a diamond cutter. I don't know, man. It's actually very cool. You know who else is Adam West, Batman.
Oh wow. That's awesome.
And also a friend of mine, Stan Lee.
That's
so
awesome.
It's like, it's kind of cool,
So you got the Marvel and the DC comic figures there.
I know, and Stan, I said, just get this. I'm talking to Stan Lee, so I said, hey, man, next time, put me in your movie, I could play Batman. That's like the only movie he's never done. All right, another great career move by Rod.
Roddy, speaking of careers, we've got a live chat going on our website at pwrshow.com, and one of our users just said, Roddy Piper, probably the greatest talent to never hold a world heavyweight championship.
Wow. It's an interesting piece of work, that one. Because back in the day, there was a lot of pride taken in I can get over, I don't need a belt to get over.
Mm-hmm.
And so, also, I guess I was a little on the rebel side.
A little?
I'm like the most fired wrestler ever, too. And, I'd get in there, and it was, holding the belt is something where it's very office-orientated.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that. But in the business of pro wrestling, especially when it banged in the 80s, if you weren't a bit of a renegade, you didn't stand out. I mean, you had Schultz, who's slapping Stossel. You got Paul Orndorff, who's just beating everybody up. Snuka, Morocco, Andre the Giant, Bruno Sammartino. I mean, the list goes on. Tony Atlas. There was so much talent. If you didn't walk the line, then you weren't going to get anywhere. So I had kids to feed, and I remember the first WrestleMania, they wanted me to take a dive for Hogan. No, I ain't doing it. Or to settle the score. Before that, they want me to take a dive for Hogan. I can't do it. And Mr. T in the boxing match, I can't do it because I got kids. You know, the ice cream bar that Hogan had, I had ice cream bars. You know? The bath towels, my kids got wet too. I needed the bath towels, and so McMahon, you know, he took that as being not conducive to the business. For heaven's sakes, my whole life has been the business. So I don't know really how to deal with that one, other than I don't know anybody else is here that never held a belt, I guess. Well, you know, it's been a long road, guys.
I think it's safe to say that if there wasn't Roddy Piper being hated, Hulk Hogan never would have been quite so popular.
Oh, I love you too, man. I'm in the dressing room one time, and I'm sitting down on a bench, and Hogan's to my right, naked, and Savage is to my left, naked, and Savage has got a Norelco, and he's shaving his bum. Whoa! What the hell are you guys doing? You know, so I don't shave my body and tan. That's kind of gay shape, you know. I'm not a judge. I wear a kilt, okay? Well, but it was go.
You know, great Roddy Piper moments. There have been so many great WrestleMania moments. You look at your, I think, tremendous matchup with Bret the Hitman Hart, which I think was for the Intercontinental Championship. I think it was WrestleMania 8, and that promo right before the match, excellent as well. You look at the Piper's Pit with Morton Downey Jr. and Brother Love. Just good stuff. But there's one WrestleMania that was a little bit controversial, and I'd like to hear your take on this, and that would be the one where you had a matchup, I believe it was WrestleMania, with Bad News Brown.
Oh, I got in so much trouble for that. I tell you the God's truth. This is exactly what happened. I'm walking down the hallway in some arena, and there's Pat Patterson and Vince McMahon, and they pull me into a room, say, we want you to wrestle Bad News Brown. Now, Bad News Brown was a great judo player, and I had a lot of respect for him, a lousy pro wrestler. And I'm looking at the guy. And everybody's sitting down, and you could cut the air with a knife. And Bad News was there. And I'm in my head, I'm going, I got about 40 promos to do on this guy. What am I going to say? And all of a sudden, I just said, it's God's truth. I said, I'm going to paint myself half black. It just came out of me.
It came to you.
I swear. McMahon looks at me, and he says, I swear to you, I love you. That's exactly what he said. So it came time for the match, and McMahon went and got a special solution that when they put it on me, it wouldn't come off when I sweat. So we get to There's so much to it. I got to give you the condensed version. We get to the WrestleMania. Boom! I had this lackluster match. I went out kind of shaking my hand like Michael Jackson, and everybody kind of looked at me like, What is he on tonight? Milk and vitamins. I don't know. And so then the thing is, I come back, and there's a special clear solution to take off the special paint. The lady is rubbing my cheek to take the paint off because they painted me half black, literally, all the way down my body. Okay, I insisted on it.
Did you know first?
Yeah. Did you need any help from Randy on that?
Everything, I swear, everything on my body, all right, my bum included, and so when they went to take it off, she's rubbing, and my cheek starts bleeding. I go, wait a second. What happened was Andre the Giant and Arnie Skolin had dumped out the clear solution and filled it full of water. So I think that was in Toronto, Canada, and I live in Portland, Oregon. So the next day, I've been drinking a bit. Next day, I had a cowboy hat that Bob Orton had left in my room. I'm not sure why. So I was wearing that to give back to him. I was half black. I had a Mickey Mouse, 4-foot Mickey Mouse under my left arm for my daughter. A halberd in my right arm going through customs in Chicago. It parted like the Nile. I sat down in first class, and I put Mickey in the next seat. She says, the flight attendant says, you're going to have to check Mickey. I bought him a first-class seat. sauna. Like, for 3 weeks he kept rubbing. And what was I going to do, go beat up Andre? I tried. I wasn't really good at that.
3 weeks,
wow.
Everybody thought that I was being racist. And, man, listen, I was born in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. There's no black people stupid enough to live in a country or a town that cold. They're much smarter than me. And it had nothing to do with it. I don't know. It just came out of me, I don't know, guys. I don't know.
You know what? It's one of those moments, though, that I don't think wrestling fans will ever forget.
I know. Because so much. Did somebody, I think the honky tonk man, he got some kind of grudge against me, and he's the one that's brought up that I was a racist. And so he said, in one interview, he says, I've got David Schultz and Bad News Brown backing me up. I go, wait a second. One's a black militant and the other's a KKK card-bearing kid. and Honky Tonk is an Elvis impersonator that wrestles that can't play the guitar nor sing. All right. How afraid am I supposed to be? True story.
You know what, Roddy? One of the talents that we didn't mention was the Iron Sheik.
Oh, Sheiky baby.
Holy cow, man.
We got to hear an Iron Sheik story.
Oh, Lord. Let's see. There's so many. Iron Sheik is an interesting individual. We were coming back from Columbia, South Carolina. And the Iron Sheik likes to indulge in smoking stuff like hay and alfalfa, whatever it might be, all right? So,
he's an herbalist.
Yeah. I'm driving this yellow Lincoln Mark, and I don't know what I was doing, but I was so strung out. I didn't want nothing. I didn't want beer. I didn't want nothing. We're driving back, and right by a policeman about 95 miles an hour, and I'm driving. And the cop pulls us over, and the Sheik was smoking his alfalfa. And he puts the alfalfa under my seat. This is the Sheik's logic. If nobody claims it, then it doesn't belong to anybody in the car, and we'll all go free.
So then why didn't you put it under his seat?
Yeah, you know, my seat. So I get out, and so the cops, of course, smell the alfalfa. And then right away, whose alfalfa is it? Get out of the car, hands against the wood. I'm waiting for the Sheik to stand up. He goes, the Sheik says, you know, Daddy, he says, I am the Iron Sheik from Tehran, Iran, world champion here. And he starts to hand the police an 8x10 of him to give to his kid so he'll let us go. Cop looking at him. Cop opens the trunk, and there's a .389 millimeter packed in the trunk. That was mine.
Wow.
So, all right, everybody in the car. So then he goes into the Sheik's bag, and he finds some Valium. And then he finds this thing that's a grinder for other illicit stuff. And so the cop says, all right, whose is it? You know, Daddy, I am the Iron Sheik from Tehran, 8x10. Finally, I just said, it's mine. Just give it to me and take the Sheik to jail or me. I don't care. Get me away from here. And they took me to jail. The Sheik went free, and I had nothing. For once, I had nothing to do with it.
You should have just kept saying, I am the Rowdy the Piper.
The Sheik's got this logic where, an 8x10 fixes everything. And, he probably was going to charge him for it, too.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Roddy Piper, this is just great stuff, and we're going to get a lot more of it because you're going to be here in town, as we said, Rowdy Roddy Piper Day on April 16th. But just before that, on April 15th, you're going to be at Joker's Comedy Club here in Milwaukee.
We're going to have so much fun then. We'll have a ball. Everybody sits around. Like, you name a town, I can tell you a story about it. And I don't take it too serious anymore. I love everybody. I love everybody, man. I'm a big dad. I got a lot of kids. Some kids I don't claim. But we sit around and we laugh. We'll have a hot toddy, and we'll have a great time. I'm really looking forward to seeing you, man.
Let's see. I know you still got it, but if I say a name, let's see what your reaction is. Haku.
Okay.
Haku.
Holy cow. Human Vegematic. Not even Barb. Remember Barbarian messed with Haku. Haku was so tough with his feet and his hands. That he's the only guy that could, he can be alone in a bar anytime he wants to. And he was a sumo wrestler, and he wouldn't, like in sumo wrestling, you have to wash the backs and bathe the top sumos and stuff, and he wouldn't do it, and no one could beat him. So they just kicked him out. They didn't know what else to do. A wonderful guy.
Every time Mean Gene mentioned his name, though, you said, "God bless you." How much of that do you forget, Yeah, exactly.
I forgot about that, man. You know what? That was an inside joke with us. And I get to do it on the air all the time. Haku, God bless you. April. He would look at me because he thought that it made him a little light in the loafers, a little hairy.
April 16th and April 17th, Rowdy Roddy Piper, BlizzardBrawl.com, going to be making appearances for Great Lakes Championship Wrestling in Racine on Friday, and in Waukesha on Sunday. It is going to be an amazing weekend. And Rowdy Roddy Piper, thank you very much for coming on and sharing some of those amazing stories with us. And good luck with your movie, Pizza Man, filming right now out in LA.
May all your dreams come true, boys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Roddy. Thank you, Roddy. This is the award-winning Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN, streaming live at ESPNMilwaukee.com.
This is Phil Hellmuth, Wisconsin native and God's gift to poker. Have an ego, son? And you're listening to 540 ESPN Radio.
Welcome to the Pro Wrestling Report. Back to the Pro Wrestling Report. We're still reeling from the Hot Rod. What a tremendous person and a great bit of hot news coming from that interview. I don't think we ever knew the Bad News Brown story.
Next weekend is going to be just ridiculous here in Milwaukee.
That's BlizzardBrawl.com. Rowdy Roddy Piper is going to be at the Racine Memorial Hall, along with some other talents, I understand.
Demolition, Road Warrior Animal, X-Pac, Tracy Brooks, the Road Dogg, Al Snow, the Skull Crusher, Milwaukee's own, and Ring of Honor star Rashi Brown.
And on Saturday, I believe, we're going to see the first time ever the Road Warriors and Demolition teaming up.
Demolition,
or the Road Warrior.
Axe and Smash, tag teaming with Road Warrior Animal for the very first time against Smash's son, Dakota Darso, and 3 of his mystery partners.
All the information for that available at pwrshow.com. Again, pwrshow.com. And also at pwrshow.com in the shop section, you can get some exclusive autographed pictures of Tracy Brooks that are, talk about hot news.
And Alicia Fox, I think, is on there, too.
Yes.
Did I mention that tickets just start at $10 for those shows?
It's a great deal. It's a great deal to see something that you thought you'd never see before.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
It'd be great.
Roddy Piper. He's bringing the spikes right away, too, right?
Oh,
I mean, because he had the spikes the last time.
The shoulder pads.
Yeah.
Yep. But Roddy Piper Day is going to be there also.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks again to Rowdy Roddy Piper for taking time off his busy movie shoot to join us on the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. You know, I tell you, that who hasn't been on this program? We're still working on the biggest name ever to join us in the next few weeks here. You're looking at me like it's the Pope. No, I'm still working that angle, by the way.
No, but we also have another huge interview coming up as well.
Let's not spoil it. Let's not spoil it.
Is it Cody Rhodes?
Wow.
Yes.
Fish versus Dave Hero is also going to be in Racine.
We
at the Memorial Hall.
Superstar.
You're getting back in the ring, David. You and Fish.
I'm retired.
I'll buy a ticket for
There
that.
isn't enough money.
Put it in a cage.
Wait, you would
what
pay
the hell?
for that.
Use the bell.
You would
that
pay
was
for
a joke.
That. Yeah, you would pay for that to get into the show.
Yeah.
Hero versus Fish.
Yeah, I would.
Really?
It'd be fun.
But we need to brand yourself there, Fish.
Frank, you can be the referee, and you're taking a bump. All right, TNA Wrestling. Never. Let's finish up this conversation about the state of TNA.
Please. I'm begging you.
There's been discussion on, and as we said earlier, who can right the ship? Who can make things right? Who can put them in a solid course on the right direction? Doubtful, but good point. There's 2 names out there that people keep talking about, one of which is Paul Heyman, who I don't believe has any interest in doing it. The second is a man who will be free in a couple of weeks from his contract with WWE, and that's Jim Ross.
Jim Ross won't go there.
No.
There's no way.
Would you have said Hogan would go there 2 years ago? Would you have said Ric Flair would go there 2 years ago? No, you wouldn't have.
Yes, I would have.
No, you wouldn't have.
Well, how do you know what I would and wouldn't have done?
I know you wouldn't have.
Who's the guy? Really?
Apparently,
I'm psychic.
Apparently,
I'm
Mr.
Mr. Cleo.
Conversation for you. Yeah, Mr.
Jim Ross. I don't think Jim Ross wants to do anymore.
Correct. But I'm not talking in an on-air role. I'm talking who can go and be.
Jim Ross really has not done creative on his own. He's a good talent relations guy, but he's not creative.
Paul Heyman?
Maybe.
I think it's less likely that Heyman would do it than Barry.
I think it's more likely because Paul Heyman has a bunch of his buddies in TNA.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and also
he has
still
Ken
money to
Anderson,
anybody there?
He has Ken Anderson. He has the Dudleys. He has Paz, RVD, a bunch of those guys.
And Paul Heyman, I think if the money was right, Paul Heyman would jump and do that. I think it's not, that he's only just going for money, Frank, but I think Paul Heyman would jump if it's something unique enough and he was getting paid enough to take care of what he needs, then I think he would do it.
Heyman's got a good gig right now, though. He's doing the Heyman hustle. He's making his own business. He's not answering anybody but himself, essentially. So I don't know if, again, I don't think he has any interest in doing it.
But think about it. Who is out there that has written for a large organization that can write that ship?
Bischoff.
You know what?
They can 3 people, maybe 2 or 3 tops.
You know what? You're missing the whole point, though. They can have the best writers in the world. They have to let the talent develop themselves.
Well, they need, in my opinion, they need a leader. I don't think it's Dixie. I don't think it's Hogan. I don't think it's Bischoff. They've all got their own separate agendas, and I'm not saying they're bad agendas, but who is in charge? Who is the Undertaker? Who is the John Cena? Who is the Triple H?
That's the problem.
TNA Wrestling.
We brought that up earlier, that they needed a bunch of guys that cared about the product. They seem to be releasing those guys, Christopher Daniels, guys that were true TNA, to bring in guys that are supposed to bring, TV ratings around.
Well, but let's be honest.
Because Christopher
as
Daniels,
talented as Daniels is, he's not a ratings draw.
Hold on, but Christopher Daniels and AJ Styles, those are the guys that you're talking about. Those are the ones in the background that should be the TNA guys. But you're right, they're not ratings draws.
You know who could do it? And unfortunately, it couldn't happen now. But someone like Bobby Heenan, who has seen it, who has done it
but he's never been creative.
But could add something different that maybe TNA could use, being that he has that experience. Maybe you don't need to have that creative experience. It's someone that's fresh and can just take a product and go, I have an idea. Let's run with this. Because as I mentioned before, there's maybe 2 or 3 people in the entire world that have ever done this that has made it work. And Paul Heyman is one of them when what he did with ECW.
The only problem Paul Heyman had was financial, because the ECW, creative-wise, I think Heyman was pretty good.
Or if there's a wrestler that's towards the end of his career that could add a fresh...
Speaking of ECW, what about Tommy Dreamer?
Ugh. David Hero, you are the booker man here.
Whoa, you just crushed what I said. It just dumped right on it. Tommy Dreamer can't be a creative guy?
He's never been creative.
You're saying that Tommy Dreamer could never do creative?
We're looking for a guy to fix the company.
To run it.
And it's not Tommy Dreamer.
Okay. I just put it out there. I'm not even behind it. I didn't want to get crushed so fast.
I think it would need a fresh face.
And Tommy Dreamer would have.
You know what they need to do? I think they have the right people to write for TNA.
Absolutely.
The problem is they don't know what direction they want to go in.
And they keep spinning their wheels.
Do they want to have AJ and the Pope be a main event? Or now do they want Hogan versus Flair in the main event? Or is it going to be Angle and Anderson? Or is it going to be the Dudleys and the Outsiders?
I think they want it all.
I think they know what's right. I think they know what they need to do, but they just won't do it.
And what do you think that is?
I think that is showcasing those new talents, building those new talents by introducing them to the audience and giving the audience a reason to care about them, as opposed to relying on the names that may not do the same thing.
Jim Cornette?
Oh, he'll never go there again. Hell will freeze over.
He was just there.
I know, but
you know what?
He's been away for a little while.
As much of a fan of X-Pac and Kevin Nash that I am, they need to build TNA around Jeff Hardy, Rob Van Dam, Beer Money, Ken Anderson, and AJ Styles.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And those are the guys that are the most talented on the roster.
Yep. And then
they can build around.
And then you put a second tier to mix in there once in a while of the Abysses, of some of the girls, get those girls in there, and I think you can go from there.
But there's going to be that fan base that's going to say, I'm not watching TNA for those guys. I want to watch Hulk Hogan.
I think there are more people will watch for RVD and Jeff Hardy than for Hulk Hogan.
Like I said, RVD's your Mysterio.
Well, here's the thing. And you always know when...
Hardy. I'm sorry. I didn't say I said RVD. I meant Hardy.
You know when a company is doing well when you see women and kids in the crowd.
Yep.
And Jeff Hardy and Rob Van Dam can draw women and kids to a show.
Yeah.
If they only knew who they really are.
Come on, Frank.
This is the award-winning Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com.
celebrating 12 years on the air and voted 2009 Broadcast Show of the Year. This is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com.
Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report. Breaking news, actually. This is real. Just got this from the Newswire. Federal air marshals subdued a man who authorities say attempted to light his shoes on fire on a United flight from Washington to Denver Wednesday night. And that's just coming in from our news feed. So a little bit of information out there for you.
Was Flair on that flight?
Woo! There may be a Flair.
Well, I mean, Piper was just
Flair
talking
for the
about
goat?
it. Yeah.
There's another Flair, possibly.
Lots of discussion.
Thank God that they took care of that Joker.
We went very long. You know, it's always amazing which of these flights the air marshals are on, because I know there aren't many of them, and there's always 1,000 planes in the air, if not more. It's pretty amazing, so good job to them. But what an amazing first hour and 20 minutes, including the Hot Rod Rowdy Roddy Piper, Roddy the Piper. And now it is time to enter the AirTran phone zone, and you can be a part of the discussion by calling us at 276-3776. Again, that's 276-3776, or all over the world at 1-800-990-3776, 1-800-990-3776. You know what we got to do? We should do a special
no
show.
Parking in the red zone.
No, Diane. The white zone is for Junior. Do you like gladiator movies?
Damien's freaking out because he was talking about the whole dots of paper on him, and that's all we've been thinking about since. Go ahead.
Frank, thank you for completely derailing me. We need to do a show at a special time so that we can be live for our listeners over in the United Kingdom.
Across the pond.
So that they can call in, because they really want to, but they pick it up on their iTunes application, which is available in the iTunes store for the Pro Wrestling Report, or streaming live at ESPNMilwaukee.com and PWRshow.com. Let's go to the phones now, and let's go down to Glenn in Orlando, Florida, who wants to talk about Total Nonstop Action Wrestling. Glenn, you're live on the Pro Wrestling Report.
Hey, guys, what's up?
Hey, Glenn.
Hey.
So I have some points here. Abyss, they can go a lot with the storyline that he has to ring right now. The one that I can see happening is Hogan turning heel and then taking the ring away from him, and Abyss realizing that the ring was nothing and he had everything inside of him. Another thing is, how do you think about AJ Styles and the Pope, not AJ Styles, Pope and Desmond Wolfe as a tag team later on in their career?
Pope and Desmond Wolfe tagging it up.
You know, I like Desmond Wolfe now. He's come a long way.
Wolfie?
From Roxy Foxy.
Roxy
He's come a long way.
Is it his valet?
No, not at all. I could care less about Chelsea. But, I mean, he's really, you know what, in the beginning I thought he got...
She's not hot to you?
You know. She's no Kim Kardashian. But, you know, I'm watching him, and, you know, in the beginning when he's, you know, thrust into that program right away with Kurt Angle, I'm like, I'm not ready for this yet. But he's really shown that he is quite the worker.
Have they introduced Desmond Wolfe as a character?
I think they have. I think they've done a great job with him.
I think so, too.
And he's been introduced because of his alliance with Ric Flair and AJ Styles.
Yeah.
Not only his introduction as Desmond Wolfe, because, you know, when he came in, technically everybody knew him as Nigel McGuinness. So he had to be introduced as a brand new character. Someone.
Damien?
Sorry to bother you.
No, I got heat with somebody in the chatmosphere.
You?
No, here they
Jose
put
Canseco in the chatmosphere?
It was like a train wreck.
I didn't know
they
Jose Canseco know how to use a computer.
They said go to a certain website and take a look at the pictures, and I did, unfortunately.
You're that guy that orders Viagra on the
dude.
internet, aren't you?
Was it OJ in the...
No, I can't. I don't want to talk about it.
Well, you brought it up now.
No, because
You fell for it. It was the picture of Hogan and Savage shaving their bums, huh?
No. Let's go now to the continuing the AirTran phone zone. Gilberto down in Florida wants to talk about Jack Swagger.
Your world champion.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Pretty good.
Fabulous.
Yeah, a little about Jack Swagger. I'm liking what they're doing with Jack. You know, it's good for him because if you notice some of the small things, he's not doing the push-ups anymore, and he's on a serious tone now. You know,
Do you like the losing that he's doing, too?
Well, no. You know what?
Doesn't matter. Still has the belt.
Yeah, but people are going to compare him to Sheamus. But the thing about Sheamus is that he kind of came out of nowhere, where Swagger already had established, you know, he was ECW champ and all that. And a little about TNA, you know, I've been watching, you know, I haven't been totally dissing TNA, but, I think they should be trying to do a little things better. I mean, not with the overall product. I'm talking about the whole show production, because if you notice, a lot of segments, especially this past Monday, a lot of segments that they did were cut off right away. They would go. It's like they didn't know when they were going to go to commercial.
Yeah.
When you're watching, it makes you feel like, whoa, what was that? And
Gilberto, here's the point that I think needs to be made, and I'm going to throw to David Hero on this. And as you all know, David Hero is the booker man on the program. He runs Great Lakes Championship Wrestling, and I've worked on production for several wrestling events. David, when you're running the show, and thanks for that call, Gilberto. When you're running the show, how easy is it to get off track?
Oh, it's super easy. All it takes is for one or two guys to go an extra 3 or 4 minutes longer, or for someone just to miss their spot and they got to start over.
Or Armani's 25-minute epic from a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Is that the entrance or the promo?
Or you have Angel Armani do a 40-minute opener.
Yeah, exactly.
An opener for 40 minutes.
That was Blizzard Brawl 1, I think, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
He ran down to stop it.
Yeah.
Where you got
both Cousin Jackman there, like, hey, take it home,
Where you got both Bagwell pacing back and forth. So these guys are killing me.
And especially with live TV, it's easy to get off track.
Well, look at this show, for instance. We're at 9:26 Central Time. We're supposed to be, based on where we are in the program, 45 minutes into the show. So we're already 45 minutes behind. So it just, you go with the flow and things happen, but things get changed. I'm not defending anyone here, but things get changed as you go along. And if, like in the case, as you said, ODB and I believe it was Tara going down for a match on Impact a couple of weeks ago. ODB said on the way to the ring, they told her what?
Got like 62 seconds.
Yeah, and it was supposed to be a 7 or 8 minute match. So there's a lot of people to talk to, a lot of communication to get around, and sometimes things get missed. And when you have the infrastructure that is the WWE, who does production almost better than any sports organization out there today, and we talked about that in the past, it's a difficult comparison to make. But when you put yourself on that stage and say you're launching a war, you should be able to compete in that arena as well. Let's go to Eric in Queens, New York, who wants to talk as well about the new world heavyweight champion, Jack Swagger.
Hey, guys. I'm a big fan of your work and the show.
Thanks for tuning in.
I just want to ask you first. I know you guys moved to Wednesday night tonight. I'm just wondering, unlike another company, is this a one-shot deal? Or is this, are you going to test the waters to see what the ratings are like tonight?
So you're saying this is a Frank Cosentino patent temperature check?
Oh, my God.
No, Eric, we'll be back on our regularly scheduled time next Monday night, right after WWE RAW and an hour after TNA Impact goes off the air. I think we had some NCAA conflicts this past week, but that's no, we're not testing the waters. We do like this earlier time though on a non-wrestling night.
It is good. I'm excited about it. I'm about as excited as Orlando Jordan at the Rob Terry match. But anyway.
Well, hey now.
But anyway, I'm sorry. I must be in the Catskills right now. It feels like. I was wondering, as Gilberto was talking about, do you think as Jack Swagger playing the heel that is always very afraid and keeps on running from people, having him, quote-unquote, job, but not really, to Randy Orton this past Monday, do you think that is only going to hurt him in the long run, or do you think getting him that exposure and letting him go about 10 minutes with Randy is actually going to help him?
I think, if anything, it's going to get more heat on Jack Swagger, because people are going to eventually get frustrated with him losing or countouts or whatever. And what Jack Swagger's really doing is what the old 1970s and 80s heels would always do. They'd go out there, and they'd work, 20, 30 minutes and always lose by DQ or countout. And just made the people want to.
And that way they never lost cleanly.
And you clutch the belt as you're leaving.
Absolutely.
Because that's what you needed.
Yep. Thank you for that call, Eric in Queens. Also, as we said, the conversation goes on during the show at the Chatmosphere, PWRshow.com. Stunner88 says this. I think actually it's a Dave Hero screen name. Just watched WrestleMania 26 again last night, and it looked to me like Cody Rhodes looked like a cheerleader from the University of Texas Longhorns. All he needed was some pom-poms.
See? That's your boy, Cody Rhodes.
Let's go to Bowman in Boston, who wants to talk about TNA Wrestling. Bowman, welcome back.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Hey, Bowman.
Going on. I wanted to talk about TNA. While I was on hold, I thought of a few other different things I wanted to mention real quick. First of all, Cody Rhodes is going to be a big star one day. I'm on Damien's side with that.
Thank you, Bowman.
Yikes.
Bowman, you're a fellow Ms. Marquis, right?
Yeah, oh, definitely. Miz is awesome.
Ms. Marquise Unite.
My next thing is I agree with Damian again. I think Big Rob Perry in that chair shot definitely is going to put him on. Only problem is it got ruined by Orlando Jordan spraying milk on him.
Absolutely. Overshadowed.
And let me ask you this. I mean, are you related to Damian in any way, shape, or form? Just kidding. Go ahead.
And I'll actually have one question to ask. It's a WWE-related question, but as Shawn Michaels took that sabbatical, about 4 years during the Attitude Era, and then came back, and he kind of came back, better than when he left. Obviously, most people are going to remember pretty much the last 6 or 7 years of his career. Do you think that same time off that did him well is doing the same thing when Jericho took 2 years off himself?
Absolutely. That's a good point. Because you get refreshed, you get to sit back and you get to reflect and say, okay, how could I have done this differently? They both changed their styles where they actually worked smarter.
Mm-hmm. And let me ask you this: is that something that maybe even The Rock could do?
No.
You don't think so? You don't think there's time away?
There's no way The Rock will come back full time.
There's a financial thing that Rock is getting right now. It's like $5, $6, $7 million a picture and
$20 million a movie,
even more. And
I can smell what he's cooking with that.
Oh yeah. So if he wanted to, but I don't see him doing that.
Thanks for calling in, Bowman, out in Boston. Let's take one final phone call here in the AirTran phone zone. Adam from Ontario, Canada. You're live.
Hey, guys. What's going on? First of all, awesome job with the Rowdy Roddy Piper interview. It was really well done. You were definitely
Don't thank us. It was Piper. 100%. That was all Roddy.
No, you can thank me. Go ahead. That's fine.
First of all, 2 questions. First one, really, really quickly. Am I the only one that's getting a little bit bored with Ken Anderson and Kurt Angle with the whole them fighting each other almost what it seems like every single week, now trying to make us care about going into the pay-per-view?
Well, I think you're going to get your wish, and I think next week's pay-per-view will be the blow-off to their feud.
Hopefully. And
one thing they did good with that, though, is it was, and I said this a couple of weeks ago, it was a slow build that wasn't necessarily a slow build. It's an angle that I think people had the opportunity to either invest in or not invest in because they spent so much time on it, which is something rare for TNA.
All right, and my second question, me and my friends were talking about this, and they're just saying, definitely Shawn Michaels was the greatest opponent Undertaker ever had. Besides Shawn Michaels, at least a lot of people say, who would you say, all of you, was the Undertaker's greatest opponent at WrestleMania?
Easy.
Other than Shawn Michaels?
Mankind.
The Undertaker-Mankind series of 1996 was epic.
No, at WrestleMania, though.
At WrestleMania.
Yes.
Actual best opponent. Well, easily, that's Mark Henry.
Oh.
No. You know what?
I'd have to say Batista. I'd go with Batista.
And I think Taker and Ric Flair had a hell of a match, too.
They did.
I
1991?
was there for that one, actually. That was a great match.
I think he wrestled Kane 3 times?
Twice.
I mean, that wasn't too
I would
bad.
say either Ric Flair or Triple H. I think he had 2 great matches with them.
I'd go Batista because it made Batista look, credible. Not that, Batista wasn't able to do it himself, but...
It's not the Giant Gonzalez.
I personally think my friends, either Randy Orton from 21, just because of the build of, this young kid, like, wow, this kid actually has a chance against Taker. And Jake Roberts, just the whole feud going in between with them two.
Yeah, that was a great match, him and Jake Roberts.
Yeah.
The pile driver outside the ring.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that call, Adam from up in Canada, and we're going to take a time out. When we come back, we're going to talk about WWE RAW, and we've got hot news. This is the award-winning Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com. The best part about it when this song plays is seeing Frank pop for it.
No, this song is stupid.
Why is it stupid?
Wow, dude, it's your wedding song.
No, it's not. That's what makes it stupid.
Is it your wedding song?
It's not.
Vintage fish. You ever really listen to the lyrics to this song?
A bear she kill, a bear she kill.
Is there going to be a slop match? What was that they had at...
What was the cousin?
Elmer.
That's it.
The one that got married.
No, it was Uncle.
Oh, we got to find
Luke
that video and
and
put it on
Cousin Junior.
PWRshow.com, the wedding. Hopefully the cousin whoever...
Cousin Luke.
Like
wedding.
2 fish fighting over the same piece of corn.
This is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com. Hey, Hulk Hogan was on Bubba the Love Sponge earlier today.
Really?
Well, I didn't have a chance to listen to the interview. We will have some notes for you in just a minute.
Put the picture away.
No. I think my computer has just crashed.
Yes, the picture.
Must have been. God got me. So we'll talk about that later on. But, gentlemen, let's talk about WWE RAW from this past Monday night. Randy Orton defeats the new World Heavyweight Champion, Jack Swagger.
Doesn't matter. He left with the belt. Still a champion. But you know what?
Ted DiBiase has the $1 million belt. Does that make him a champion?
Absolutely. He's the $1 million champion.
Was it odd? Didn't you find it odd that Orton won?
Not at all, because they're not going to put Jack Swagger over the white-hot Randy Orton.
Why did they put the two of them together, period? Because it makes the Swagger look weak, makes Swagger look like he's going to a weaker show because the person on one show that doesn't even have a belt that's supposed to be, beating a guy that has a belt and is supposed to be a champion.
But he's still on Raw.
But he said he's going to be going over to SmackDown. That's what Swagger said in his promo.
Mm-hmm.
So not only does the non-champion from Raw beat the champion from SmackDown,
maybe because Randy Orton will be drafted to SmackDown?
But still, it makes Swagger look weak. Swagger looks weak.
Okay.
He is the world heavyweight champion.
No.
Looks like a weak champion.
Your world champion right now.
Oh, well, your now? Your?
Yeah.
You're throwing your in there?
He is.
Frank, do you sign up on that? Your?
I'll have to check the...
I have creative control in my contract.
Not anymore. We reworked your contract after WrestleMania.
I haven't.
You may not have gotten it yet, but it's on its way via FedEx. I had Bishop send it for me.
Thanks.
Black Hummer.
Yeah,
really? How about that kidnapping from April Fool's Day? Frank was busy.
He was busy.
You got Cal in the studio.
I bought a Black
special
Hummer.
Monday Night War.
You did a what?
I bought a new car.
Oh, you bought a new car.
You can see that actually it's a brand new episode of Monday Night Wars that was exclusively available at pwrshow.com, so go check that out at pwrshow.com, what we like to call the social hub of the wrestling world, so be sure to check that out. The other noteworthy situation from WWE this past week, Raw anyways, was the reintroduction of the $1 Million Championship. With a little bit of history from Michael Cole. You know only two people have held $1 Million Championship?
Wasn't Hacksaw Jim Duggan one of them?
No,
Virgil.
He
was king. Yeah, Virgil
Yeah,
had
he was king. You're right. I apologize. I just start to block out Michael Cole when he talks.
We talked about it going into WrestleMania, who would be the breakout star of Legacy after Mania. Clearly it was going to be, in y'all's opinion, Ted DiBiase, and apparently we're seeing that build and grow on Raw.
I like it. I really do. It just brings me back to what it was a good 15, 20 years ago, and I really like what they're doing with DiBiase.
You just like it because you had a shot with him.
Well, that too, but
come on.
I like the angle that they're working, and he's pulling it off right away. I like it.
Ted Jr. is a talented kid. You almost got to wonder when they're going to bring up Kurt Henning's kid, Joe Henning.
Joe Henning?
Uh-huh.
I don't know.
I heard he's getting ready.
He's OVW right now?
Florida Championship.
We have the poll ongoing at pwrshow.com. Who has the better show on Monday nights? This one's been running since March 8th.
PWR?
Comparing WWE RAW to TNA Impact. Who has a better show on Monday nights? And the results this week show TNA Impact remaining on top. 54.4% of the voting, and WWE RAW with 45.6% of the voting.
I don't buy it.
What? It's legit. Dewey Cheatham and Howe runs this.
Oh, I know. I just.
Ever wonder where Eisenberg went? That's what he's doing now. He's running our poll.
Alan Eisenberg?
I don't know his first name.
Oh, okay.
I just know not to drop the ball.
I see. I'm done.
Hogan on Bubba. Here's what he had to say. And I quote, "Make of it what you wish. TNA is a great company. There's a ton of energy here, but one of the things I really had to take a step back and take a note of, it really takes time to build the monster. Just like I saw Randy Orton the other night teaming with John Cena, and he's doing this babyface match, I had to wake up and realize that Orton has been there since 2001, and it's taken that long for that monster to get up and running and the nose to pull up on this thing." I think it's a point y'all all made earlier tonight. Building stars, building talents, and Hogan saying that some of the great talents that you see in WWE, they have had a lot more time to build them than TNA has.
You know what the problem is with TNA about building their talent? Last week, okay, Eric Young jumps off the top of the cage and wins the main event.
Mm-hmm.
Where was he Monday night?
We'll be asking that about Anderson next week.
I'm not going to spoil nothing.
It goes back to they have 60, 70 wrestlers on the roster.
No,
and
here's the
2-hour
thing.
program.
No, you're wrong. Who cares if they have 1,000?
Frank, you're wrong.
No, who cares if you have 1,000 wrestlers? If you're going to develop somebody and you put him in the main event who drops an elbow off the top of the cage, you bring his butt back the next week so the fans don't forget about him.
Only if there are 20 other wrestlers that say, well, wait a minute, in my contract says I get to wrestle April 4th. Well, okay.
But they don't have a contract like that.
Well, I know, but they're being promised things for TV time, and they're forgetting about who they're supposed to be pushing.
They're not making smart business. I don't feel Eric Young deserves to be. He deserves to be in TNA. No. I don't think he belongs tag teaming with Rob Van Dam and Jeff Hardy against the Wolfpack. Okay, I think they can go a different direction. But, okay, so they put him there, then he beats the Wolfpack, and then they don't use him the next week. But yet they bring the Wolfpack out. It makes no sense at all what they're doing.
Hogan went on to say on Bubba's show this morning, TNA, and I quote, TNA is moving so fast. I watched the show. It's definitely not the product. The show is on fire. The audience needs to warm up to how TNA is changing and how they're stepping up and how fast it's moving. I guess I just have to get off my quote-unquote, this is how it is, and this is how it was, because the business is changing, and it's all new. Seemingly in that statement, Hogan blaming the core group of TNA fans for not embracing the new product while maybe ignoring the larger audience that they should be focused on.
So Hogan's blaming some of the fans?
That's what I interpreted.
How can you say, you know what, you're our fans, but I don't like you, and you're messing up my product?
And quote again, the audience needs to warm up to how TNA is changing and how they're stepping up and how fast it's moving.
I think that's counterproductive.
Rule number one, you never blame yourself.
Okay, but you blame somebody else in the company, not the people you're trying to get to buy your product.
Unless he was in character.
Or maybe we're just taking it all the wrong way, too.
We could be taking it out of context there, but...
One final comment from Hulk Hogan this morning on Bubba, we're just going to say on a radio show because I'm just sick of mentioning his name.
Bubba?
It's been tough because let's just say it like it is. Vince McMahon is the monster. I just had a huge wake-up call the other day because I was watching Vince's show, bouncing back and forth, and I'm grateful for everything Vince has done for me. You have to admit that no matter how whacked out I got or how on I was, Vince McMahon was always there for me. I've done some really crazy stuff. He's always been there, and I'm so grateful for what he's done. He's the monster.
You know what he's doing?
Yeah, positioning.
He's rebuilding that bridge.
Well, building that bridge in case he needs to bail quickly.
How many times has he been on Bubba's show? Hundreds? And now he says this stuff?
He was Bubba's best man at his wedding.
But to say those comments at this time when they're basically in a quote-unquote war.
There's that word again.
Here's one thing I'll give you about Hogan. He tends to seemingly say what he thinks he should say without worrying about the ramifications of it. Meaning, I don't think he's saying what he really feels. He's saying what he feels he needs to say, and he's not worried about what happens as a result of what he says. He may think he's stirring things up. I know for a fact that there's been some dissension at times with some of the things that some of the talents have said, even on this program, about the company. But it's all about spin control. Maybe they need a what do you call who's his name for President Obama now, the press guy, press secretary. Maybe they need that in TNA and just have someone correcting all the stuff that these talents say, drawing attention to the other company, or
they just can't make so many
bad things
they can't make so many changes, month to month. They've got to let your product simmer and just build.
Let it sink in. It will grow. This is the award-winning Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com. Awesome.
Come on, knock it off.
That fits, doesn't it?
No.
I thought it did.
That's where he takes the basketball and shoots it behind his head and makes it.
You know what this song reminds me of?
What? What does it remind you of, David?
No, it's not going to be an Alicia Fox song. No, when we had the talk with, you know who down in Phoenix about Dolph Ziggler's theme song.
Yeah.
And
I am perfect.
who it was originally meant for was Joe Hennig. But he's not ready yet.
That's a perfect song for him. That'd be a 21st century.
Oh, that's why they.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just listening to it in my head right now. That'd be a 21st century song for him. That'd be nice.
Special thanks to all of you who have downloaded the iTunes application from the Pro Wrestling Report. Great feedback on it. It is available in the iTunes store.
When do we get the BlackBerry app?
Yeah, and does it work on an iPad?
I think hopefully it does work for this. Frank, how's your iPad working out? I know you went out and you were waiting in line at Best Buy at 4 a.m. on Friday after
I picked it up
Saturday morning.
I tried to dial. It doesn't work.
Mr. Telephone Man!
No, was that the iPad or the Maxi Pad?
Hey, come on. Where's that drop? Inappropriate. Again, thank you to everyone who picked that up.
I love Kelly Holcomb. I know he will start. Whatever.
And coming soon for the BlackBerry and Android, we're working on working with our partner to get those applications developed. And let's go to hot news.
It's hot news. Live from the PWR World News headquarters, here's Damian Nelson, the man they call Meathead, Frank Cosentino, and David Tiberius Hero. This is hot news.
Tiberius.
Wow,
we got hot news.
Kurt Angle, his ex-wife,
Karen Angle,
has announced her engagement to Jeff Jarrett.
And you know what? I saw the ring. Very impressive.
Rockalicious.
Oh.
This is something we've been sitting on for weeks, actually, because
we've had to.
Their personal business.
Yeah, it's
but
their own personal stuff, and it's been leaked all over the place today. And you know what? The PWR show has been invited to the wedding.
Oh, well, 3 of us.
Well, you can't go, Meathead.
I have done nothing wrong to anyone at any time.
You got your own wedding plan. You know, it's,
okay.
You know, it's that same weekend.
So now you guys are all blowing off my wedding to go to Kurt and Jeff's wedding. That's fine.
Well, yeah,
Kurt and Jeff.
Sorry, I had a flashback of Kevin Nash talking about sitting in a bathtub, drinking wine, playing with action figures.
Why are you thinking about Kevin Nash in the bathtub drinking wine now?
I'm not thinking about it. The man said it himself.
Our condolences go out to the family of Chris Kanyon, who had apparently or reportedly took his own life over the last few days. Was found in his apartment in New York. He had been battling depression for quite a while. And then last wrestled on the national scale several years ago. So, of course, our condolences go out to his family.
Mm-hmm.
TNA announced that they have signed new long-term contracts with 2 talents, the first of which is not so newsworthy, but the second of which is Christy Hemme brought on board for a long-term deal with TNA.
Whoa, wait a minute.
She's been doing fantastic.
I think Christy means as much as the other person.
No. Let me finish. Brian Kendrick being the other person, what's substantial about that is what did he have when he came in? You know what I mean? That tells you that they're not signing these people to long-term deals right off the bat. They're doing an evaluation kind of thing. That was what they blamed the Nasty Boys release on, saying that, well, they had a 90-day review and we didn't want to keep them. So
but hey,
that's smart at least.
Christy Hemme is phenomenal right now, ding, at what she's doing. She is perfect in her role, and I think she's really blossoming. I don't mean anything behind that either. I'm telling you, she's doing a great job.
Rey Mysterio, in a recent interview with Mexican Press, said that he does not anticipate wrestling for more than 3 years from now. Rey Mysterio, who's been very outspoken in the Spanish press, saying that he sees himself retiring from the ring in some 3 years' time. Now, it is no secret that Rey Mysterio is battling several nagging injuries, as he has for years, and actually delayed surgery recently so that he could participate in WrestleMania 26.
Rey needs to just retire.
It's 20 years? Close to it?
He's made plenty of money.
Is he good with it?
He'll do amazing on the independents. He'll do all the conventions. He'll make just as much doing that.
And no bumps in the conventions.
I mean,
except for Frank.
His body is just beat. Beat up. Ridiculous.
He's been going nonstop for a long time. Well, not necessarily nonstop, but practically.
He may show up at nonstop.
Ooh, good play of words. Damien, host.
We are going to be back in our normal time slot next Monday night.
Monday.
That's 11 o'clock Eastern, 10 Central on 540 ESPN and
Do you know our guest is
ESPN
going to be on Monday night?
Monday.
Coming Monday night? We haven't discussed it yet, so let's not broadcast it.
Oh, come on.
At this point. No.
We're going to love it.
I can't wait to get that one guy on.
We'll get that one guy on.
It's going to be fun. But as I said, next Monday night we'll be back on the air. No prime time this week, obviously due to this typical taping night. And we are going to not be able to tape TV this week because of being on the radio tonight. So that's more information than you needed. But check out last week's prime time and interactive that was posted.
Last week's prime time was amazing.
A moment ago. You're marking out for yourself over there?
No, for just the show in general, it was awesome.
Yeah,
good discussion.
Nice bail.
Good discussion as usual from the Pro Wrestling Report. And remember to check out the brand new, again, PWRshow.com. Lots more interactive features, lots more opportunities for you to be a part of the discussion only at PWRshow.com. We've got all those news links fixed as well, so make that your destination site for professional wrestling news. David Hero coming up next weekend after next rather. In addition to our great guest from earlier tonight, Rowdy Roddy Piper being in town, being honored with Rowdy Roddy Piper Day, there's so much more planned from Great Lakes Championship Wrestling in Racine and Waukesha.
You really need to go to blizzardbrawl.com, where it has everything that you need to know about Racine Memorial Hall, Waukesha County Expo Center, Demolition, Road Warrior Animal.
Here comes the ass!
Tracy Brooks returning back to Milwaukee to go after the GLW Ladies title, and, of course, Rowdy Roddy Piper in Crusher Country.
Absolutely. Rowdy Roddy Piper was tremendous. I'm not sure anyone has ever broken that Bad News Brown story. I've not heard of it once.
Well,
is it hot news?
That's definitely hot
news. What
news.
happens here? I want to make sure all of you tune in, as we said, Monday. And if you did not get a chance to check out any of the recent episodes of the Pro Wrestling Report, they are available on your iPhone application and always on demand at PWRshow.com. For the man they call Meathead, for David the Hero, and for the cause, this is Damian Nelson saying thank you for tuning in to the award-winning Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com.